What's up, folks? Today we are back with the Regular Guy Firearms channel, and today we are going over something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, only because I put a lot of effort into it. Now, today we're going to talk about AR pistols. Specifically, the pistol that we are going to talk about is sporting a lot of stuff, and by a lot of stuff I actually mean various different AR manufacturers and stuff, what it means to build an AR that you can trust, and either myths or fallacies or whatever the shit is surrounding a lot of this stuff. Okay, now, first things first, we're going to go over a lot of the little technical babble that we have to, basically to go over what I put into this gun and the expense that it cost me. Okay, now, all of this is going to be minus all of the gadgets and widgets and bullshit on it. All it is all it has to do as far as the explanations to what's going where are the moving parts assemblies and the things that are required to make the thing go bang. And then we'll go over basically the prices of other stuff that is involved with it, like the attachments and all that other good jazz. Now, first things first, we are going to go over the barrel. Now, the barrel is a Bravo Company manufacturing 12.5-inch government profiled barrel. The reason why I chose a 12.5-inch on a pistol setup, quote unquote, is that with the 12.5-inch barrel, I can preserve some of my long distance lethality and preserve some of the muzzle velocity, rather than jumping it down to 10.5. And also, with a 12.5, as also with a 10.5, I get to keep a slightly longer barrel than the quote-unquote special forces requirements to a short barrel, and that's 10.5. I got to keep a slightly longer barrel with a carbine length gas system in it. The reason why I was rather particular in getting a carbine length gas system is mainly for reliability. One of the big advantages that I've noticed in the carbine length gas systems is that in really, really crappy environments, the extra overpressure, the extra blast from a carbine length gas system versus a rifle or a mid-length gas system keeps the guns running a little bit longer. Now, is it more abusive to your upper receiver parts? Yes. But as far as the we need to get the job done right now portion of it, the carbine length gas system, in my personal opinion, especially the modern ones, is the most reliable system in the DI framework here. Okay. Now, a lot of guys are going to ask, okay, why didn't I do a piston in it or something like that? If I was to drop a piston in it, either I was going with a major manufacturer or a piston kit system. The main reason why I went for the carbine length gas system is twofold. One, it's very widely available, okay? And two, I know it's a reliable gas system. So all this really is while piston gas systems are in a lot of ways more conducive to longevity of the individual system, as far as just being able to replace gas tubes and shit like that, longevity was on my mind, and I just approached it from the direct impingement side of the house. Also, there's fewer moving parts, and with a shorter length handguard, I didn't exactly want a piston in it because pistons tend to collect more heat up front. And if that were the case with a short handguard setup already, a piston kind of turned me off as far as heat and stuff was concerned. You guys have seen me shoot this in courses, so the high volume thing is part of my lifestyle. That's why I decided to pick the DI gas system. Anyway, the handguards on this guy are the Daniel Defense Mark 18 series. This is the older one that's got the 6 screws in it. You can see that there they are. Okay, it's got the 6 cap screws in it, and Of the free float rail variety, the Daniel Defense handguards are, in my personal opinion, one of the more easy to install. Other handguards that come to mind that are really easy to install are like the Geissele super modular rail system and a few others that are out there. But those are the two that really just kind of tip the scale for me as far as ease of install and all of that good jazz. And mating it with the upper receiver here was also really easy. So Daniel Defense also, while this isn't the lightest rail in the world, I can tell, or I know for a fact, based on other guns that I've owned and other setups that I've seen sporting the Daniel Defense swag, these guys have their shit together. Their stuff is tough. It doesn't come loose very easily. It's good to go. Okay. With the bolt carrier group. Now, the bolt carrier group itself is also from Daniel Defense. Get that nice and close so you can see the DD in there. Okay. So I have the Daniel Defense handguards, bolt, and I went with a Daniel Defense upper receiver. Now, why did I go with this hodgepodge of gear and put a BCM barrel in there? One, because all of these are mil spec, and I know at the very least it's at the bare minimum for get the job done for all three of them. I know that all three of these are going to match up effectively, because I've seen guys splice guns together and make Franken guns and shit like that. And three, I went more expensive for the upper components and the moving parts components, because realistically speaking, that's what really matters as far as quality is concerned in your builds. Okay, all of the moving parts and shit are gonna have are basically where you need to not skimp, in my personal opinion, when you're building a rifle. Okay, lower receiver components. Now, this lower receiver is, believe it or not, a DPMS. Now, lots of guys are going to be like, oh, well, fucking DPMS is shit, man. What is wrong with you? Honestly, dude, if it's a combat gun, a lower is a lower is a lower. Okay, as long as these magazines drop free easily, as long as the mag well is up to spec and the pin size is adequate, a lower is a lower is a lower. Unless you're building a precision gun, there is nothing that you can effectively say to counter that, because this guy still shoots 1.5-inch groups at 100. 12.5-inch gun on a lower quality lower receiver, but higher quality upper receiver and parts and shit like that. Basically, a splice together of basically of almost random shit. And it still prints about 1.5 inches at 100. So, oh, and with Wolf ammunition, by the way. So there's nothing that you can really say to me if a lower quality lower receiver was really that big of a detriment. Because if it was, it would not be there. It would be more around the standard for military performance, and that's 2.5 to 3-inch groups at 100. Don't give a shit when anybody says that is the rating for mil-spec barrels, okay? Or mil-spec guns, because the military weapons that get churned out of the factory to soldiers are rated for 2.5 and 3 inches at 100. Anyway. Now, as far as a pistol setup is concerned, I decided to go with Canuck Industries, which is kind of funny because their name is awesome. But I decided to go on their website, and their website sells a complete package where they sell you a castle nut based pistol tube with a spacer already on it to keep this brace from moving forward. They sell the bracer and extra extensions for length of pull. Okay, now all of that can be had for just over $200. And this brace I got rather early in the hype, when the braces by themselves were being sold for $200 at various places that have assholes running them. Okay, but in any case, they sell basically a complete package, because it's not just the tube and the brace and the spacers. They also sell a silicone based recoil spring and buffer to go with it, so that it can deal with a carbine length gas system. It is slightly heavier, which is great, and it ups your reliability quite a bit, because the silicone-based springs last quite a bit longer. Okay, it's not old news. People have known this for a long time, so it's not like I'm speaking any new gospel that anyone has never heard of before. Okay, moving further along, I mean, I'm a lefty, so I put lefty controls in the gun to supplement that, but the right-handed controls are preserved. So it's not like it's a lefty-only gun. I just adapted left-handed dudes for this weapon system, because you can see the freaking safeties, the magazine release are ambi, so it works out. The charging handle is also ambidextrous. It is it's the Raptor from Rainer Arms. Great ambi charging handle. It's definitely deceptive in that it snags onto your shit with authority, and it's lower profile too, so it doesn't snag the shit out of gear. Mag release is by Troy, and the ambi selector switch was bought off of Stag Arms and their website, because they are really in tune to the lefties. So I decided to get a mil standard safety from them. The size of safety doesn't really bother me personally, because the simple act of just getting your hand out of the way of your safety when you're snicking it off, not a big deal. Okay, I decided to go with Midwest Industries for a backup iron sight package. It used to be where I was running Magpul MBUS sights on this, and short review, Magpul backup rear sights suck. They're really fragile. They obscure lots of your vision. Okay, sporting this, it's had several optics on it, but what I personally like on this particular rifle is an aim-point type optic. I put the T1 on here. This is the Pro right now. I own a Comp M4, and I threw an EOTech on here at one point in time. I have an EOTech 517 that's pretty much like my Hor optic, and it goes from gun to gun to gun to gun, and it seems that it's running up pretty well. By the way, longevity review coming up on the EOTech soon. But what I like sitting on it the most for this particular setup is the Pro. Okay, you can also see that I'm fuckulating around with a D-ball and a Surefire Scout with a AFG. Now, the reason why the AFG is on here instead of like the Magpul short grips or little stubby grips that lots of people have running around is that if I throw a foregrip on this pistol, it's not legal anymore. You can't have a foregrip on a pistol. So this is pretty, and seeing as this is not a foregrip, this is just kind of like a hand stop or a reference point. This whole setup is legal now. So be conscious of that when you're building AR pistols, okay? As far as the muzzle device is concerned, I decided to not go with anything special. It's got an A2 style flash suppressor on there. I'm thinking about throwing a pig on it, and here's why. I would like a little bit of compensation, but I don't want the concussion to fuck with people that are around me. So I'm thinking about throwing a pig on there, but the pistol, quote unquote, is definitely calmed down to the point with just the A2 on here that it's not going to fuck with people that are near me on the line. I know guys with small setups like this that use like Surefire dual port brakes and anything like that, and then they come to the classes and it just bothers everybody, you know. So squad mate concerns or other people concerns, personally, just as like a decent fucking human being, should be on your list of priorities, unless you shoot rifle competitions on a regular basis where you don't have to worry about shooting around people. If that's the case, go ahead and bring your outrageous break to flatten out that gun so you can toss your name up higher on the list. But unless you're specifically into that, I personally don't do it, just because I don't like to be an asshole. Now, all of this being said, you know, I mean, a lot of people have been asking, you know, what's the deal as far as reliability and all this other stuff. I had exactly one malfunction with this rifle. It's got about 4,000 rounds through it now, but I've had about one malfunction. Well, not about. I had one malfunction on it. It was with a PMAG actually. I had exactly one double feed. So I cleared the double feed, jacked that magazine back in there. Lo and behold, we have another double feed. So I got rid of that magazine, and I kept going. Since then, it has had 0 malfunctions, and that PMAG I learned was actually about done as far as spring tension and everything else. So the system totally did fail, but once, and that was with a bad magazine. Other than that, the setup runs. So if you want to clone this or whatever, do what you got to do, because personally to me, it didn't cost me that much. Whole setup, minus the D-ball and the light, whole setup around $1,600. Okay, you add the Surefire Scout on there or a decent quality light, it's going to jack the price up another couple $100. But still, that's not freaking bad, and it's got everything that I pretty much need in it. Trigger, by the way, is a mil-spec type trigger, so nothing fancy or anything in that yet. By the way, that'll drive your price way up if you decide to throw something awesome like a Geissele in it. But anyway, guys, that is the rundown on my AR pistol. You guys have been asking, so I figured that I would let you know on as far as all the little details that I've covered it. Remember, guys, I'm on Facebook now with a Regular Guys Firearm page. Just go ahead and ask to join the group. I add everybody, unless you're an ass. Remember also that I'm on Instagram under the YouTube name. And if you have any questions that you don't have the time to ask on YouTube, or if you have any suggestions for videos that you would like to see, please let me know through any one of those little venues. I check them on a regular basis. Keep in mind, though, that I don't check Instagram as much, so Facebook or YouTube is the way to reach me with the suggestions. But in any case, guys, remember, a Regular Guy's Firearm is the last defense against tyranny, and take it easy.